Welcome to Grow at Home Artist Talks, a series where we hear from artists and authors and musicians about their work and practice. Grow at Home was made possible by the Arts Council England Cultural Recovery Fund. We'll be live streaming and recording tonight, and this will be archived on our website. We also sometimes use screen grabs for publicity purposes, so please be aware that if you're not comfortable with being recorded, you need to switch off your webcam. There'll be a Q&A at the end of the talk. Please put any questions and comments you have in the chat, and they will be fielded to the artist by me. Okay, AMP Medley, aka Absent-Minded Poetics, AMP the Voice, AMP the Bus King, Absinthe Mumbled Polemics, Dr. Yaounde London, MC Zigga Zigga, Rhymo the Wino, and last but not least, the indescribable, is a hip-hop artist, a storyteller, and master of ceremonies, dedicated to cultivating the craft and nurturing the development of fresh narratives in a variety of forms. His purpose is to express authentically, to uplift and inspire, to stir the human soul, and ultimately to create moments of intersection between himself, the audience, and the spirit. AMP Medley has carved the name for himself by rapping his way around the country, busking in all of the major cities, and is a regular street performer at Edinburgh Fringe. AMP released his debut album, Mosaics, in 2017, and has hosted and performed at events all over the capital with the creative collective that he founded, And What London, including Grow, Hootenanny Brixton, Chip Shop, and Volt Brighton. Over to you, AMP Medley.
Awesome, thank you. Wow, you've impressed me with that roundup. I didn't know I'd done so much, you know. Big up Pete, big up Grow, David on the sound, and the Arts Council for funding this thing. Basically, over to me. So let's start at the beginning. I was born in 1986, and I think from pretty early on, I was kind of into the rap thing, into the word thing at the very least. That's kind of the stuff I gravitated towards at school. I didn't really like the exact science-based stuff that much. I was more into the kind of, the stuff where I could kind of express myself, basically. I was also kind of like more like, I really think I found rap later on, maybe when I was about 12. Before that, I liked to run around the house dressed as Michael Jackson, had my little hat, my little jacket, used to make all my parents, friends watch me as I slid about the carpet, trying to do a whack facsimile of like a moonwalk. So they got a bit bored of me after a while, so I just started writing in my notebooks. I think maybe one of the first raps I came across was Heavy D then on the Michael Jackson album, that jam, there comes the man, my man, Michael Jackson. And then later on when I moved back to England, because I was born in England, but moved to Holland. I grew up there from about 4 till 12. So when I moved back to England, it was around the 2000s, and it was the time when Eminem was really popping off. You had Dre with the 2001, Snoop Dogg, and all that. And I kind of got into that. I started writing like that, rapped a little bit at school. You know, we had a few little battles in the cafeteria and that. I remember one occasion, I battled this cat called Dan Ford, Dan Fordy we used to call him. Shout out Fordy. Basically, it was a funny one because I got the drop on him. I would never do this now, but I got the drop on him. We were fated to meet at lunchtime and battle it out. A battle, by the way, if you're not into rap or whatever, battles where two rappers go against each other and basically try to outwit each other verbally in any kind of way, dissing each other's abilities, bragging about themselves, etc. So we had to meet up in the lunchroom, and someone gave me the drop on him, and they dropped me his lyrics beforehand. So I had some bars ready for him. Let's leave it at that, because I want to rehash the incident. Too much anyway. So yeah, I was into that, and basically I used to write my raps kind of like that. And I guess like most rappers, we start off as like imitators. So I was definitely going for the shock horror type raps and stuff like that. But the more I started listening, deeper the game went. There's so many different styles going on. You know, there's like, you know, I moved from kind of that kind of gangster rap thing to look into the history of it. And I started looking into people like KRS-One and Rakim. KRS-One's knowledge reigned supreme over nearly everyone. That might be a little reason why I went for the acronym on my name, AMP, Absent-Minded Poetics. Rakim for his flow, the way he changed the game, the way people rapped, you know, made it like poetry to me, really. And I kind of started gravitating towards that and the similar stuff like that was going on contemporarily for me. So that just led me to people like The Roots, Mos Def, Talib Kweli, you know, that whole kind of, I guess there's like, they were like kind of like the native tongues, like Tribe Called Quest and De La Soul were just before that. They were a little bit before my time. And I call these guys kind of like the native tongue kind of revivalists or revitalists, if you like. And they're bringing that kind of same mentality, but updating the beats, updating the sound, bringing more musicality to it, etc. Then there's some, you know, more niche artists that I got into, people like Black Alicious. They had some mad, you know, lyrical miracle type stuff, like verbal calisthenics, if any of the hip hop heads know that about. Binary Style was another crew. Another guy was Killer Priest, who I liked a lot. He was like a Wu-Tang Killer B, as they used to call him. And his thing was like, he used that Wu-Tang similar, like sampling heavy, grimy beats and sampling movies and stuff like that. But instead of Kung Fu movies, he was sampling like the old Sword and Sandal epics and stuff like that. So I started getting into that. And I think actually that might have influenced my my album, Mosaics, quite a bit. Because I definitely had an aesthetic where I used a lot of imagery, biblical imagery, religious imagery, to kind of create parallels and talk about whatever I was talking about. Even if the rap wasn't necessarily about that, it would have those kind of, use those kind of things to play with as like we're playing, different things like that. So I was thinking maybe I'll share one of them with you real quick. Just a tune from my album. This one's called Halaj. And this is from an album I made with, it's the one that Pete mentioned earlier on. It's with Satoshi, the Golden Child, Italian producer who I met while I was busking on the street. I do a lot of busking. I'll tell you all about that a little bit later. And we made an album together. This is one of the tunes from it. And he actually came, yes, I will. He came to me with this beat, and he told me, oh, it's called Halaj. And they had this sample, which he sped backwards, like he's rewinding the sample to create just an audio effect. And it was someone singing in this like kind of Arabic style. And he said the sample's from a tune called Halaj. And so we looked up Halaj, and it's like Halaj. There's this guy called Al-Mansur Halaj, and he was like a Sufi mystic. And apparently he was kind of excommunicated because he said, I am the truth. And thought we'd just play with that idea and just write a song about kind of like finding this guy. And if he's got the truth, you know, we're going to find him and ask the questions so he can give us the truth. And that's basically it. So share screen, share sound. That's the one. And enjoy. Tell me if it's coming through. Jose.
So I walk for weeks, body weak, mind willing. So it's mind over matter, first steps of the children. Harsh like a pilgrim, how large is the soup that my mind spent on pilfering? Got a few questions, if life started, can it be never ending? It's free will, destiny's henchmen, space and time another projection. Black and white, right, I was born on the Zen thing, puffing up my chest and starting a rebellion. Lovers that we feeling and haters that we failing, lost in our pretensions, no relenting. Mind bent on change, only money that we sense. In the bench is a cage, and the cut collects green heads like Henry VIII. Or was he testing their faith? Or was it their neck as it faced one final embrace? Alash, take these questions away.
There's a couple more minutes to that tune, but you know, if it wet your whistle, you can go check that out. All the links are down there. AMP Medley, Mosaics, AMPSat, Satoshi, Al Halash, and it's featuring a singer called Vittorio Mazzilli. All right, let's stop the share. And also, let me just check out this chat. No questions so far. It's open for questions apparently. So I was expecting the chat to be overflowing and it to be going like, I've seen it, how it goes on the casinos and stuff. You know, it's like a fruit machine, but apparently there's no activity here yet. It's a little bit like a tumbleweed situation. But it's all good. It's as long as you could touch one person, right, Alex? All right, so back to the story. Where was I? Got into music. This is the kind of music I like. Killer Priest, blah blah blah. So that's when I just used to listen to rap a lot and play around at school and stuff like that. I remember doing little poetry competitions, things like that here and there. But I kind of grew up in like kind of small town when I came back from Holland. There was no hip hop scene, you know. And even in the towns around me, there was like a hip hop scene. There's like, you know, artists would come through every now and again. I was in between Oxford and Reading. So, you know, it's just something that I used to do when I was listening to rap, because I just love listening to it. I'd be walking around, walking to school or walking to play basketball. I'd be listening to the music. And when I didn't know the lyrics, you know, I'd rap along if I knew the lyrics. But if it's something new or I didn't know the lyrics, I kind of rap along still, but just kind of make up my own lyrics a little bit and just play around with it like that. And so I just kept on doing that. Eventually, I hit the road when I finished sixth form. I went traveling for a little bit. So I went to Southeast Asia first, and there wasn't a hip hop scene there, but I could get into anyway. I'm not cussing them or nothing, but I'm just saying the language is hard. I remember Sabaidi Makra, and not much more than that. But actually, it's funny. I always thought it was funny, one, because they talk tonally in the language. Like I think Chinese has 6 tones, so you can say ah. You see, you're saying the same vowel, but slightly different tone. And I was always thinking the possibilities are endless for a rapper, but who knows? You know, all my Thai people tell me, hit me up on the chat, yeah. So I was traveling a few years in Southeast Asia. Wasn't getting up too much with the music, but just kept writing because I was always compelled to write. This was the age for all you youngins out there. There was a time before we had these screens. We used to have these things that were made out of trees. We call it paper. We used to take this pen and write stuff down on the pen. And yeah, it was hella inconvenient, and I always lost my lyrics. But I had shoe boxes full of the stuff, you know, napkins with little scribbles. You know, they've all disappeared now. Now it's all just gone onto the phone. Yeah, I kept on writing, was just compelled to, I guess it was kind of therapeutic in a way for me, something to keep my mind busy. You know, I guess, you know, other people have, you know, might have been playing video games, and that's kind of my game to play. Went to South America a little bit, traveled there. And there, actually, I got to perform a couple times because there's more of a hip hop culture going on where I was. Went through Colombia and in Chile as well. Had a little bit of Insta fame because I was the foreigner rapping over there, throwing a few Spanish words in every now and again. So that was cool, and that kind of gave me a real flavour for it. And I remember being over there and thinking to myself, when I get back to London, I'm going to hit it hard and get into this rap thing. I'm just going to go around to the open mics and just start playing with it and stuff like that. And I was on this little hustle where I was making like handicraft art. It's like recycled art made out of rubbish, like cans and old juice cartons and things like that. So I was kind of like, my plan was get back, get on the rap tip, do that kind of little hustle as well, and just, you know, play around with that, see where it can take me when I get back to London. So that was tough getting back to London because the culture is completely different in terms of street selling and things like that. In Chile, in Santiago and Valparaiso, where I was, there's such like a culture of artisans, and they go up to people on the street or people sitting out on the restaurants and and pass their wares around. And here, if you walk up to approach someone like that, they're like, that's weird, get away from me. I haven't got any drugs or I haven't got any money. That's basically the kind of response you get. So that kind of bit fell by the wayside, but I still did keep kicking bars every now and again when I was in a little venue and the opportunity arose. And then that dovetailed really nicely with my man, Tony, Tino Biscuits, Anthony, Nidus, You Need This, etc. Stephen Leonard, for all of you who know, the man, and we put together this little thing called AMP What. We basically were having these house parties with at the Manor, as we used to call it, in Herne Hill, with Fanan, and he's still at the Manor right now. Fanan, DJ Gonan, our DJ at AMP What London. And we used to do house parties there with a whole crew of people. And they all helped to kind of, at some point, the parties got too big. And Tony had the idea, let's take this party and just do it in a venue. There's a new venue opened up called Off the Cuff. Let's just try doing it there and keep the party going. Getting too many complaints from the neighbours, I hear. So I was down for it. We'd had some past working together on some other nights, this thing called This Is Not Serious, another party night that was more organised around kind of club music, electronic music, which I used to do a little bit of hosting, just introducing people, things like that. And so I just took on that kind of side of it, the front of house, and Tony took on the kind of the promotion, back of house kind of stuff. And we started doing it. And I don't want to forget all the team who was there. We had Lindsay Rushforth. It's her birthday, by the way. So happy birthday, Lindsay. I think it's our anniversary. We had Alona back then. We had Eva and Gary and just the whole Manor team. And later on, Mitch came along, and I don't know, we all just kept on doing this thing. So we moved from Off the Cuff to doing events at the Hip Hop Chip Shop, which opened up as well. And that became a historic location in like weeks, it seemed, because it wasn't there, then it was there, then it was like everyone had been there, especially from that old school era. And because the way I got into hip hop, I like listening to what was going on, but I also kind of was like a bit of a student of it. So I started looking into all the different people from before my time and seeing how it built, how it developed, where it came from and stuff like that. And the myth making around it, started observing that as well. KRS-One is great for that, like, because he will give you a history, but it's more of it's a mystery, because he's just coming up with stories that they might not be like facts, but they've got truth in them. You know, it's more like a psalm type stories that he's telling you. He's all about the metaphysics. So I love that kind of side of it. Yeah, so we started doing different events, and then we put this thing together called AMP What London. So I thought I'd share a little bit of some stuff from AMP What London. So I'll screen share that again. Let's see here. What have we got? Share screen. Share sound. There we go. So this is the website. AMP What London. Ono, one of our true core team members. We got Isaac B as well. another core team member who came on and helped out with the MCing and the hosting. We got, you can see there in the back, we had Ali Blanco, one of the originators as well. Raf, Sunset Sunrise, there was Gonan. We got some new additions to the crew as well, like Casper Grant. He's come on in the last year, but come on strong, and he's just released something as well on Antwerp. It's this tune called Snake Oil. So, you know, if you're thirsty, come get something. It's a real nice tune. It speaks to what's going on now with the misinformation, fake news everywhere, etc., etc. So that's all worth checking out. Yeah, show you maybe a few of the other artists on this page. So there's Isaac B, the Big Cheese, Oh No the French, AMP Medley, no pictures. Kaleida, she came on earlier as well. I met her on this Night Out as a hip hop night. I can't remember the rapper that we saw, but you know, it was still definitely worth it because this chick has brought a lot to Antwerp, London. We got Dax come through, local Brixton boy, got on it when we were running it and going hard in the chip shop. Sunset Sunrise, Hugh Dem, multi-talented, got a bit of everything with this guy. Yeah, Antonia, no, Joel, Merk, yeah. Okay, Fatima and Alex Mike the Mic, of course. He's tuned in. Can't forget Alex Mike the Mic. Yes. He just tells the story, as he likes to tell me. I just tell the story, man. I just tell the story. Oh yeah, and I thought I'd tell you guys a bit about Merk FM. So during the time when we were in Off the Cuff, which is a great venue for sound, etc. A great venue to come up on. Recommend everyone check that out if they're down those ends. I think they're opening back up now, and they've got a nice little outside area and all that. So they basically, this guy, you see this guy on the sax. His name's Richard, and he found me at some point, and he gave me, I think I was getting off the stage, and I was all hyped and loving, you know, vibing, feeling myself, as they say, coming off the stage. And so I didn't really take it. I was like, yeah, put it in there. Yeah, look me up, blah, blah, some shit like that. And he put his name in the phone, but he never put the name down. And so I found it in the name. I found it in the phone later. And someone else that night that also talked to me like, oh, let's do something together. Like I don't know, he was like a drummer from, I don't know if he was like, I think he was Chinese, or I thought he was Chinese at the time anyway, because I wrote down the Chinese drummer, but on Richard's number. And then I was texting with this guy, Rich, yeah, let's meet up. I need to get some of these drums going. And he was like, yeah, cool, I can do drums as well. And so I turned up at his crib and I'm like, hey, you ain't Chinese, bro. But you can still play music. So we made some music together. He introduced me to his band, which was Lit FM. We basically ripped off their name and went with Merk FM for our kind of side project, our spin-off project. And, you know, Lit, Merk FM, it's like when Lit goes to bed, Merk FM comes out to play, you know, with like the dark underbelly of Merk. That was kind of the idea, you know. And so we've been doing our thing for some time. We've put a few different tunes together. David's mainly involved in the mix, like David plays the drums for it and also does mix and mastering. It's been a big part of that. Kaleida's also in that, the DJ I was talking about earlier. And Andreas, Skunk Master General. I know he's enjoying 420 right now. Big up, big up. So basically, we started doing some tunes together, and we ended up performing Noisily a few years ago, which was a great look. We did our things in Off the Cuff, and also we ended up doing a regular night in Hackney Grove. So I thought I'd show you a little jam of us doing our thing in Hackney Grove. So here we go.
When you don't love yourself, I'll be seeing signs like warning. Palm trees ahead, wind gusts aplenty. And if you venture too far, you're sure to be knocked up side the head. Falling coconuts like Epiphanies. So you gotta play right like Euripides. When in Rome, do as the Romans do. Bloody hands ain't a triumph, that's what the Romans choose. Yo, never steal that beat, never steal that heart. The first beat that I ever heard was my mother's heart thumping next to me. As I lay in her room, sleeping. My own, a mere shadow in comparison. No more palpable than the palpitations of a hummingbird's flickering wings in mid-fly. These thoughts help me live right, like a mirror, yeah, who's learned to live life, wrapped up with inside, 'cause we got to live right, yeah. Me not gonna need nothing else but health, wealth, and knowledge of myself. The golden rule get broken when you don't love yourself. Yeah, yeah. They say ignorance is bliss, yeah, and knowledge is power. Yeah, yeah. They say ignorance is bliss and knowledge divine. Yeah. If knowledge is power, then God's in the mind. Yo, yeah. Me not gonna need nothing else.
Good man. That man has taste. I think that was the internet talking right then. Who knew it sounded so human? That tune is a funny one. We made that up in a jam one day, and that's what a lot of the tunes with Merc FM were kind of made that way. But better tunes, just jamming, something just organically kind of came together. And this hook actually refers to, I don't know if the hip hop heads out there know, me not gonna need nothing else but health, wealth, and knowledge of myself. I've given you a clue earlier. That was the tune himself, but obviously he had it on this hard boom bap track, and I kind of like to play with that. I consider it homage to the ones who came before, to lay the references in there, and then do it with my own thing. The golden rule gets broken when you don't love yourself, you know. Because the golden rule, I don't know, people know this, yeah, the golden rule is to treat others as you treat yourself, right? Well, that's one. There's two golden rules, right? There's the one I follow, that one, and the other one, the fat cats follow, which is who has the gold makes the rules. Yeah. So we're gonna issue that one for right. Anyway, so yeah. Let me stop this screen share again. Cool. So, where was I in the story? Yeah, Merc FM, Ambot London. So we started expanding more and more with Ambot London. We're doing our thing in the chip shop, and it was all basically based in the south. And then we got this connection to the Bro, who have graciously invited me to do this Meet the Artist today. And we've been doing events with them for the last 3 years now. We do longer events. Our other events are usually a bit shorter, maybe 3-4 hours. These ones can go on like all day. We start off outside, DJ, warm people up, then bring them in for live music, and finish off with actual like DJs, electronics, like a party. And that's something that me and T always talked about. Like, you know, when you go to see a gig, doesn't it suck that you have to leave after you're so buzzed and high off the performance, and then they're like, get out, you know, and you just want to keep on partying, you know? And so we really enjoy doing the Nights of Grow, because we basically, you know, we have a gig like that, get buzzed of it, and then our DJs come on and we can just dance, do our thing, you know, vibe the rest of the night out, you know? Yeah. So.
Play your feet.
What hair?
Little black boy.
Okay.
You can link it with Crystal Festival.
So what next? Okay. So I've just been told I should play my hit. My hit song. I'm getting a lot of directions from people here. So play your hit. David told me to be dynamic, so I'm trying to go back and forth. He also told me to sell myself, so I'm not sure if I should take all the advice.
He's gonna sort out everything.
David's on that pimp tip, I guess. Yeah. Okay, so there's a Crystal Palace festival I did recently. This is the hit she's talking about. I'm not sure if I can. Yeah, I can find that link. I can find that link for you. Okay, so this was a recent one. Obviously, none of us have been getting to perform live. And that sucks as live artists because that's basically a massive thing of what we do. Okay, cool. I can tell you about that a little bit, and then we'll slide into the hit, as this one likes to call it. So we started doing these nights here and there, and I was still very much learning, finding my feet, finding my legs on the stage, figuring out not how to I think just getting used to it, getting used to being in that space and get comfortable up there. So I think really, if you know how to rap, you know how to rap, but sometimes you can't get it out if you're up there and you don't feel it, you're not aligned, right? And I think it takes a while for you to kind of get aligned like that and then start kind of developing and finding your voice like that. I think one of the things that really helped me with that was when, and I big up Ali Blanco for this one, because he's a street artist animal. He's got his cube he rolls around with, and a big ass leisure battery and amp system, and he can do a bit of everything, chaos pad and all that, beatbox, rap, sing. So he was really into that thing, and he kind of encouraged me to go ahead and to grab a cube amp. And so I just picked up one of them, and maybe 4 summers ago. So the first year that we were doing our work, I went that summer. I hit up the busking, just went hard in Brighton, different spots along the coast, and just got hours and hours and hours, hours of time just mumbling on the mic, finding lyrics, playing with lyrics, seeing how people react, seeing how to draw people in, working on my freestyle, because that's a big part of my game. As I mentioned earlier, I used to do that, kind of not even thinking about it as a freestyle, just rapping along. So it's nice to do that then, to learn to do that with an eye to who you're talking to, with an eye to the audience, and making that communion, that communication between the two. So I started doing that a lot, and been busking ever since. I really like street performance. The fact that you can play with, you can involve people who maybe they would probably tell you they didn't like hip hop. They're standing there watching how you're playing with the words for like 15, 20 minutes if you hook them right. Usually you just have to start talking about them, because people love to hear. People love to talk about themselves, basically. And then when you got them on that, then they're paying attention, and then you can start playing with, your different ideas, etc. So, play my hit. This is a hit, all right? This is a loosely speaking. That's what they're saying in the chat. They're saying, play my hit, chanting. All right. I will try and find it. It's gonna take me a hot second though. So the hit is actually it's a tune I wrote a couple of years ago now. COVID time flies, right? And it's with this guy called Gaston. He lives with Raf, the Endgame from Sunset Sunrise, and him and David were playing with his thing, playing with his bass line, and basically they put it together. Here we go. they put it together, and I kind of heard it, and it had me. It just made me think of this tune, this lyric that I've been writing, and I've actually been inspired to write it through 2 different gigs. There's a Madlib gig that I went to with Collider. She always finds the best gigs, and she usually buys extra tickets. And so she was looking for a buddy to go with. She hollered at me. I got in there, got on a vibe. I was feeling very elevated that evening. And the Madlib thing was mad, because he's got this whole thing where, you know, he's signed to Stones Throw, and they've got a mad archive of music. So he plays his beats and his hits and all that, but also he comes through and plays these mixes of all these like just Blue Note records and stuff like that, and just these mad mixes, and I was just loving it. And I don't know, I wrote something to it. It's inspired me. And then it was that mixed with some of the Most Def lines. I really enjoy going to gigs and getting really zoned in, getting my third eye squeegeed, and being just open to hear all of that music and let it all in. And usually I'll come out of these gigs and like write a lyric or 2 or 20, you know. I usually end up writing until like dawn, till sun up or something. Okay, we're getting close to the hit. I'm just having to go through a message book. I wasn't expecting to play the hit, you know. I've got all my other links prepped up here, but I got to give the people what they want, you know. I know. Yes, I found it. Yay, people. Oh yeah, by the way, is this an hour cut off, like boom, we're done on the hour? Or is it just like roughly an hour type thing?
It's roughly, you just roll, you know.
Just roll.
This is a good story. We're enjoying this.
All right,
So,
wicked.
like, we're not gonna like gong you off after.
You're not gonna cut me off.
No, I wouldn't dare, mate. I wouldn't dare.
I don't know. It's happened on stage before, you know.
Yeah, well, you can't do that on this, so you could ramble on as much as you want.
All right, cool. Yeah, so a lot of busking, pre-stuffing, etc. Last year, I did a little bit. Well, didn't really get to do much busking, but I love traveling and combining that with busking. Last year, I just got to do a bit of traveling. I went with Paulina over here, my partner in crime, and we'll be telling you more about the project we're working on later. Went to Cornwall and traveled there and there for a couple of months after the lockdown, just to get away from everything. And when we were there, during the pandemic, one of my homies who featured on my album, UK Principal, actually passed away from the COVID. And so I was thinking about that, and we had a tune together, which was a bit of an ode to Ali. And so we reworked the tune to make it also like an ode to Principal himself. And I got the opportunity through this connection called Sunanda. She's a breakdancer, to perform at the Crystal Palace. So we kind of put that on, and it was to talk about, like, we had the George Floyd protest and just kicked off, and we were talking about how Black artists had influenced us, etc. And so, you know, the only person I could think to talk about was Principal right then. And so I dropped that in, and also the hit, as they call it. So I'm gonna try and play that, cue that up right now. This was last year. Yeah. Share screen.
What was your last act?
This is the last time I was live. Well, I was live in not in the flesh, skin and bone, but live in binary code. Yeah, I just thought of that one. Yeah. Yeah. Let me get the mute off of this.
Please give it up. Make some noise at home.
1 2
Make
1 2.
some noise.
Shit.
The history, the words of the great Muhammad Ali. A legend now lost to the world but never forgotten.
Tell him, brother.
Remember the words.
Here.
Remember the movements
Ah.
of the king of the ring, the ultimate fighter.
Tell him.
Not just in the ring but outside the ring. Muhammad Ali.
Here, I don't mind shuffling, but if I do, I'll shuffle like Ali. For me, not for you. I'll shuffle off this mortal coil, shuffle on through. Don't cry for me and I won't cry for you. Yeah. Getting hungry, belly starting to rumble. Fast hands in the ring, had to become his hustle. Fast without the ring, no need for the muscle. First I take the eyes, then the rest follows. Tough built to swallow, lost the legend. Let's raise him, praise him, and venerate him for the things that this brother been saying. The roads he been paving, the walls that he caved in. I'm not playing when I say I don't mind an Ali shuffle. Love to burst your bubble, built a nation up from the rubble. Got a new champion, the champ is here, the champ is here. Revolutionary soul, change the status quo and the atmosphere. I don't mind shuffling. If I do, I'll shuffle like Ali. For me, not for you.
Shuffling this one coil, shuffling on through. I'll shuffle like Ali for me and not for you. I don't mind you shuffling, but if I do, don't cry for me, and I won't cry for you.
UK principal, the legend, the king, the prince. Come
Don't
on.
cry for me, and I won't cry for you.
Here. I don't mind, I don't mind, I don't mind shuffling. Here. I don't mind shuffling. Eat it.
Range. Hello, 1 2 1 2. Can you still hear me when I'm on the screen share? Hello, can you still hear me when I'm on the screen share?
I can hear you now,
Yes, you can. Okay, cool.
but you stopped the beats. So
Yes, I have stopped it. Yes, that's the end of the song. I just wanted to talk about Principal a little bit. Just UK Principal. Just want to say rest in peace, and he's really generous. Basically, we met. He's a stalwart in the scene, reggae artist. It's like without him and people like him, we wouldn't have a scene. We wouldn't, it's like we have this massive thing, what is called, or it's like creative music, culture, whatever you want to call it. And people only ever see the peak of the iceberg, that little bit that's coming out. And there are so many people that people don't see. And the iceberg won't be nothing without this metaphor sucks, but you get what I'm saying, right? Basically we met at a Congregate festival we were doing with Anwat London, like a kind of street festival that we did in Hart Brixton, Windrush Square. And he came through and just was toasting on the mic, just killing it with these reggae flows and everything. We kind of connected, talked a little bit, we performed together on those events, because on all our events, we kind of bring different people in and like to do fusion when we're not expecting it, to kind of push each other and see what kind of different styles and things we can play with and add to our repertoire, add to our palette. And we connected. And I reached out when me and Satoshi were recording the album, and he came down, was really generous with his time, recorded with us, and laid this beautiful vocal down. He was so hyped to do it. He was really gassed because he's a proper Muhammad Ali fan. And you can see from the intro, he was gassing Ali, like you know, and you know, he just freestyled, ad-libbed that, and we didn't actually use that for the track on the album. We didn't actually use that for the track on the album. We used it for but for the remix, the one that we put together for the ode, we found it on the camera floor, managed to cut it in there together, and just, you know, and basically, okay, I'm getting a lot of requests here. I'm just going to check the chat box. I'm getting, Alex is asking to tell us about working with Principal. Yes. All right. Okay. Well, you know, I was getting there, obviously. So Principal, yeah. And yeah, we worked together. He also laid down a tune for an unreleased one that I've got in the bank. Might come out one day, so we'll see about that. Where he laid down, you know, the reggae flows that you actually hear him spitting when he's out there and doing it. But this time he came in with this sweet vocal, and it's sick. I feel blessed that we got to spend the time, and he shared his spirit with me. I shared that energy, and you know, I'm just hoping I can pay it forward as I keep on doing the art. And I'm really, and one thing I remember is he always used to tell me that the Ali Shuffle was his mum's favorite tune that he made. And that really, I really loved, I really loved hearing that, because I know the brother's made like hundreds of tunes, you know, but I guess it pulled him out of his standard practice, and she was like, it's something different, and she rated it, you know. And so, yeah, that's Principal. Big up, rest in peace, Principal. And when we come back live, we're going to do a little something for you on the stage, a little ode, you know, for the big man upstairs, you know. All right, cool. And yeah, all right. So Fernand is asking, where do you see your music in the future? Okay, so this is interesting. Yeah, definitely I'm trying to play around with it a little bit more. The sharing screen stuff. Okay, cool. I'm just trying to play with the different styles a little bit more. Trying to basically create different sounds and just add to my palette every day. Trying to attempting to sing more and more and just use different vocal styles. And also I feel like over the COVID period, the first lockdown, I went through a bit of we had the lockdown, and then I did a quarantine within the lockdown, staying in my van. Oh yeah, that's the other thing. When I started busking, I started traveling around in my van. It's an old ambulance, and basically, I don't know if you guys know, but busking doesn't pay amazing, and it only pays during the summer months. So it's hard to scrap the money together. People don't want to pay as much. You know, make no money from streams and that. So you've got to have just different like, little hustles going on, and keep your expenses low. So instead of having a flat apartment, I decided to get myself a van and just travel in that and use that as my spot. So basically I could knock out that whole expense, because I mean, when it comes down to it, it's accommodation, food, and that's you done. So if you can half your expenses by cutting down accommodation and have your travel sorted as well, boom. So I was doing that. And that's how I traveled around the coast and all that as well. Hold on one sec. I lost my channel. I'm getting so many questions now. You're overloading me. All right. Where was I going with the van thing? Why did I talk about that? I'm asking you. Where did that story start?
I've got a couple of questions. If you,
okay. All right.
If you want to jump in with a couple of questions now, like maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, cool. Absolutely.
Yeah. Let me just. I mean, because of my age, like the first African American I ever saw kind of rhyming was like Ali. You know, I think, you know, we were chatting before, like when we were just kind of warming up about Parkinson. You were saying I'm Parkinson, and I realized you were talking about Ali on Parkinson. You know, when he's just giving it all that, and I don't think anyone had ever seen anything like that.
I've done something new for this fight. I done wrestle with an alligator, done tussle with a whale, done handcuff lightning from thunder in jail. I'm bad, I'm mean. Last week I murdered a rock, injured a stone, hospitalized a brick. I'm so mean, I make medicine sick.
This is true, yeah. But that's a really old rhyme from like way back in the blues days, isn't it? So it's something that's carried through African American culture. And I don't think anyone had kind of really, in Britain certainly, had never seen anything like that. Who's this guy? You know, he's just so entertaining, and he's fighting with words as well. He's just like sharp, and this icon of so that track a kind of nod to like his kind of. Is it about his rhyming or his fighting or both? You know, because
a bit both. I mean,
his activism. You know, the whole thing. You know,
that's the thing. Ali is just an icon on so many levels, really, because I don't know. I guess his character, whatever he touched, he kind of managed to transcend with it in a certain way. You know, and yeah, definitely, I've definitely inspired in terms of like how he plays with words and all that kind of stuff. But also, yeah, the activism side, the fighting side. I mean, to be fair, I wrote the lyric right after he passed away. So it was kind of like just the whole thing. But definitely I have notes in my mobile about the Ali rap and playing with like actually cutting down the different raps and using them as kind of interludes on a project.
Yeah.
Because definitely, yeah, I think, like you say, like the whole, maybe, well, yeah, for a lot of the country, that was their first exposure to kind of that rap thing, or the dozens, or whatever you want to call it, you know, like proto rap, I guess.
Yeah.
And like guys like him, and you know, the Last Poets and Gil Scott Heron, you know, they laid the way for all us rappers who came after it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Absolutely.
So I just kind of like, do you just write lyrics and work with producers, or do you make beats and samples too? If so, how, without giving away too many trade secrets? Because there might be people wanting, you know, like inspire. You're an inspiring person, yeah. There might be people watching in, like even my child or something like that. How does he do this? How does he do this? You know.
You know, like the production side. I make all of my own beats. No, I don't really. I've just got a lot of mad producers glaring at the screen right now. Now, to be fair, I'm not really. I know what I like. I know, and I've got melodies in my head and different things that I'll kind of try and, you know, I'm thinking musically, but in terms of actually having the skill to transcribe that into a sound, I'm at the bottom, you know, and I'm just really starting to just get hold of the software to play around with that stuff now. I've been much more focused on the lyric side of things and the word side of things. I think I came to it from that side more. Like I was saying, when I was drawn to different things back at school, it was always about playing with the word, not necessarily the musical side of it, you know? And that's something that I've come to later. And I think partly playing with the band really opened that up for me, because when you play with a band, you get to hear it on another level. You get to, because the instruments are around you, you know, instead of it all being homogenized into one package and you just get the sonic as you know, they're around you, and you can, that's that's playing with that, and you can kind of understand the music on another level. And definitely I feel like that inspired me a lot, and now I want to use that inspiration to kind of play with it a bit more myself. But definitely also, I mean, there's so much, it's also a thing of how much time have you got, you know, like, so I can dedicate some time to that, but I want to really excel as much as I can with the word. And if I put too much time into the other side, then it takes away. And with the word, I'm kind of looking at it more, and especially in the last year or so, not just as in terms of like a rapper or MC, but in terms of just how you can play with the word in any kind of format, you know? So from short stories to novels to theatre pieces and then different things like that. It's just like ideas that I'm always trying to get over. And it's different formats where I'm trying to put them in, you know? And that's one of the projects I've been working on recently, actually. Like there's a project called Incarnations, which is more of a photo album / poetry book. So it'll be me putting something out for the first time that's really, you know, I'm not rapping it. It's just going to be written on the page. I might rap it afterwards in some reimagining version, but the main piece is going to be put on the page for people to read. So it's like, I really just like, you know, I feel like storytelling is the thing, you know,
Yeah. I like the idea of you. I like the idea of you calling it. I know a lot of people who are literary people and they read their books and stuff like that. But the idea of remixing, I think, is a really, really unique thing to the hip hop kind of culture, isn't it? This remixing kind of. So you're reading them out. There was a poet on I was watching the other night on a Zoom, and he was reading his lyrics out, and they were different. He was changing them, and it was like bringing it alive, even though the book was a published book of poems and stuff.
Yeah. Well, definitely. I mean, it's interesting like that, isn't it? Because it's funny when we study poetry at school, and we end up like studying the Romantics and stuff like that, Keats and things like that. I always kind of felt like it was always in a book. But then the more I learned about it later on, it was like, oh no, they were going around and actually they were rapping this stuff to each other in coffee shops and stuff, I've got
an old
it's just because they couldn't record it back then, right? So if they had audio recorders back then, we wouldn't be reading Keats out of books. We'd probably be listening to his performance of it,
I've got a recording on an Open University spoken word LP, tiny little snippet of Robert Browning in the Victorian times, sort of recorded on a wax cylinder. A kind of soiree, and he gets his lyrics wrong. Like he gets it wrong, and it's recorded for posterity, like one of the first recordings of poetry, and he cocks it up.
Yeah. Well, that's funny, isn't it? Like there's this very famous rap from back in the day. It's an old school tune. I'm not sure what the tune is, but I don't know if anyone knows out there, they recognize this lyric. Right? Yeah. Complex bars, next level bars. So that was an occasion where literally the rapper just forgot what you're supposed to say when you're supposed to spit, and he just did the flow, right? And then the producer was like, "Oh, that shit sounds hard. Just keep it at that." And the rapper was probably like, "I spent 3 days writing these lyrics." But that's what's got put down. And I mean, I know that tune, and I think anyone who's really into the old school rap and the history of it will know about that song, And what you say about the remixing it, I mean, that is how hip hop was born, isn't it? Like it's taking those old tunes, taking those loops, the little bits that were the nuggets that people held on to, and then looping that and building something new out of that,
Right.
I think that's what I always had this argument with hip hop, that I know it's a bit all right, what's the best? It's a bit of a stupid like discussion, right? Like, what's the best music, right? But I always had like a logical argument for why hip hop was the best, right? Like you take rock, it's the guitar, You take jazz, it's the horn, right? And you take hip hop, and it's the decks. And the difference between that is the decks can contain the horn, can contain the guitar, can contain the piano. It can take from everywhere, and it can still be hip hop. Whereas these other genres are kind of confined in a way, a bit more.
Which brings me to my last question for now, and it's a kind of little prompt as well. But so you did a trilingual track. I've seen it on YouTube. I love it, and so hip hop's grown from it.
Lined up, actually.
Pardon?
I've got it lined up. I've got it ready.
Yeah. Okay, this is good then. Hip hop has grown from its roots in the South Bronx, on the turntables, to become an international language. Was that a kind of nod to that? And do you think that because of their diction and phonetics, some languages translate phonetically to rhyming to beats easier than others? Or are you out to prove or experiment that isn't the case, and it can be truly global? Because a lot of stuff we get is in kind of English or American English, isn't it? In this part of the world, the Northern Hemisphere.
Yeah. Well, definitely. I mean, I think it's global, no doubt. I think everywhere. The only problem with it is really like everyone knows English, but no one knows the other languages. So when the other, when the French, like, there's a barrier in terms of, like, I listen to like some foreign language stuff. Like I've listened to like French hip hop and stuff like that.
French hip hop sounds really chopped and brilliant, doesn't it? Because of the way French.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's really interesting. Like even with wordplay, like I was talking about this with I Know the other day, and there's a few things they do with their in just their slang, where they take, for example, they say "si mer" instead of "merci," which
Yeah,
you
it's
know
quite,
they basically they take the word, chop it in two, and reverse both of the
back
things.
slang. Yeah,
And yeah, exactly.
they do
Like,
it.
and
I only found that out myself the other day because I've got a French friend and he was asking me about Cockney rhyming slang. And I said, there's like back slang, you know, like the antiques dealers used to use it. Like if something is old, they call it Delo, you know. So that's Delo, mate. You know, it's like, whoa. And he was like, well, we do that in French, you know, Sima, you know, and I didn't know
there's
that.
definitely got overlap. I see that actually. Yeah. Yeah, and yeah, it's. I mean, it's cool because I think definitely certain languages lend themselves to that more than other languages. But it's always you gain something and you lose something. So if a language, if it's harder to do that with a certain language, it'll be easier to do something else, right? So I think it really just, I mean, it expands your vocabulary. Even now, like with the Stirling University project, with the Hands Up project, you put me in touch with. We're working with these migrant children, and one speaks Creole, and the other is Somali, and they're intertwining the different lyrics into it. And for me, it just makes it richer, you know.
Wow,
it
that
just
sounds amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it gives you a different element, does it? And it also gives you not only. I think it's not even just necessarily. One of the most interesting things is. There are words that you don't have in certain languages and you do in others. The classic example is the Eskimo thing, right? Like apparently there are, I think this is a myth actually, but it'll serve as an example, right? But there's like 20 whatever words for snow in Inuit. And
what does the word in German they call, like, you know, when we say a color's loud, you know, they've got a specific word. It's called bunt, and the only thing it crops up in English is bunting. You know, the stuff you hang up.
Right.
That's the kind of way it's transliterated. But we don't actually have a word for loudness in color, but the Germans do. You know. So.
Exactly, and that kind of stuff I think is really interesting because, like, there's another example of that is I remember I was with a girl in Chile, and we gone to the beach. Taking in some entheogens, and she was a little bit behind me, and she was like, I want to like, because usually in Europe we call it tripping, right? But she was translating it from Spanish, and so she was like, I want to voyage with you, I want to travel, I want to voyage with you. And I was like, it's probably because I was tripping, but I was like, that's amazing. Voyage, it's like, that's so much more what it is. It's a voyage, it's a journey. Like tripping, it's like I'm falling over my feet. I'm not falling over my feet here, I'm flying right here. I'm feeling elevated. Like, that's the word it should be, right? And like, obviously that had the translation, but it's just like, it makes you think differently about it, the words you use, you know? And I think that's also a thing that comes into it when you freestyle, even like the way you, even just the word, how a word sounds, it'll sound like another word. It's like how words can sound harder or softer, or words can bring you to other words. And that complex net of words is different for every language you go into. And so, yeah, I mean, it's infinitely fascinating. But and even like you have stuff like, for example, which I really like, is in their language, like whistle languages and stuff like that. Right, and also, for example, the didgeridoo thing, where you kind of like play, and you have like you play the bass, but then you throw in like these bird sounds and different things like that, or like how, you know, different sounds come from nature, like, you know, what they're called onomatopoeic sounds and stuff like that. I mean, there's so many. It's just, I mean, I think it's the thing that distinguishes us from all the other animals, is our ability to communicate so intricately and over such distances, right? And that's what kind of has created our, like, you know, we're like a hive in a way, but we're still individual. Like, we can still think individually, but as a hive, that's what's made us like what we are as people, or makes us different from the rest in a way. It's our ability to kind of work as a group, and that's all because of language. as far as I can see, in big groups, you know, and for us to accumulate knowledge, specific knowledge, you know. Yeah.
You're going to play us this track then?
Yes, I will. Let me see here.
Play it to the end because it's a, you know, it's a good video and it's got so many aspects in it.
Cool.
Different languages and I love this track.
Yeah, we're good. It's got a little cameo for David as well. I was telling them I was going to get him cameoed in. Yeah. Here we go. Big up the Obelisk.
Útiles y al mismo tiempo con máquinas la liberación. Con el clásico ritmo estrújulo pato yugular traigo rimas de dinamita, vida ponerte detrás. Como lo ves y no lo crees, programados como máquinas. La liberación comienza con la práctica para romper la táctica con la que nos domina, mina nuestras vidas con falacias y mentiras separándonos. Yo digo amémonos, respetémonos, compartamos esta vida. Yo digo amémonos, respetémonos, compartamos esta vida. Yo digo amémonos, respetémonos, compartamos esta vida. De todas las mentiras que te han podido contar, sin duda la más grande es la de que vives en libertad. Creces en libertad, te educas en libertad, sin contar con toda la mafia que se esconde detrás. Mira, la tele no es basura porque sí, su razón de ser es que te mimetices, hacernos dóciles, imbéciles y al mismo tiempo cómplices, propagando sus delirios desde sus castillos. Vivo en espacio continuo, tiempo perdido a base de tragos. Vivo pensando, vivo en letargo, vivo con lágrimas en el asfalto. Vivo tocando, cantando, rimando, intentando vivir de lo que yo he creado. Vivo creyendo en un mundo más sano, vivo sanando en un mundo de credos. Date pendiente, hermana, date pendiente, hermano. Persigue lo que has soñado. Date pendiente, hermana. Kijk me uit, ik kan het ook in Nederlands doen. Ik kus de beat, ik hoop voor het zoen. Ja, dat is veel te gemakkelijk. Ik heb muziek voor de wijk en muziek voor de wandelaars. Ik heb het allemaal bij voorgehoord. Taal maakt me niet uit, ik speel met de woord in de straat. Dit hier geen grote baat. Dit zijn de zinnen die we hier zingen. Dit zijn de zinnen die we hadden van de beginning. Dit zijn de zinnen van volwassen voor de kinderen. Maar ik moet mijn vliegers wassen voordat ik vlei kan vangen en nog eens met Engels kan vlinderen. You might not understand my words, but I hope you can feel me. You might not understand these words, but I hope you can feel me. You might not understand my words, but I want you to feel me. You might not understand these words. Een jonge man zonder plan in Amsterdam, waar de weg is zo lang. Ik plot voor de kaas, want ik heb geen baas. Voor de twijfelaars, go Dutch with baas. Want hier de kaas is serveerd met de koffie. En koffie altijd smaakt veel beter als een baas. Een vrij man die vrij is, vrijheid gebruikt als er niks voor de buurt is. En niks voor zijn wijk is, behalve freestylers. Koninginnedag, een gulden als het mag. Oldschool en cool, oranje als de dag. Maar in mijn Engeland heet hij conqueren. En thus, I'm conquering de nacht met de woorden dat ik bracht.
Boom! That's what I'm talking about. First time, every time.
That was good. That was good.
Damn right, it was good. Man can ball. Yo, David, if we were shooting that again, you'd be shooting me dunking it. So don't ask me how many times it took to score. Hey, I got a few more questions on here, so I'll run through them, and I'll finish the travel story and the hit story. I'll finish that at the end. So the other questions, I got one from Fernan here. He's asking, where do you see your music in the future? So yeah, playing with the music more, but also in terms of creativity in general, I see doing more fusion stuff with different disciplines. I've applied to the Arts Council myself for the Developing Your Creative Practice grant, and I applied for them to kind of sponsor my busking so that I can not focus on making money, but focus on collaborating, so that basically I can be traveling through the cities and really picking out other street artists and being like, hey, come busk with me. I've got your wages. That's guaranteed. So we can just focus on making something good, record it, put it out there, etc. And work it out on the street. So that's something definitely I want to play with more. And that's not just, it's with people with different music, different genres, just experiment as much as possible with kind of trying to come up with a different sound, like original stuff. That's the main thing. But also even playing with cross genres in terms of like, if there's a street juggler or a fire breather or a dancer, we've already done some combo stuff with dancers, like when I had that girl in at the birthday party, and like actually tying those things and lining that up really nicely. And that's one of the things I've been working on recently. I've last year and something with Paulina, partner in crime on the project Incarnations. So I can show you a few of the pictures from that actually. And this is a project where basically we're combining the rap poetry, but with photography and movement. So this is basically the website. This is and this is from the travels that we did last year in Cornwall. And this project, well, Incarnations, an audiovisual journey exploring the inexplicable character of the human spirit. And it's kind of written, definitely inspired by the time over lockdown, where I was thinking a lot, maybe too much, some would say, and I was going down a bit of a rabbit hole. So it's got a bit of that rabbit hole, Dorothy stuck in Oz, bit of the Sisyphus rock kind of absurdism vibe, and just talking about the circular nature of your ups and downs in life and kind of how we deal with them and how we stay inspired through those moments with the people around us and with our own kind of inner faith, I guess. And that's kind of what it explores through this specific story, where this lady, this girl, this character called Dorothy, played by Paulina, she, well, I could read it real quick. When a mysterious mist descends into the forest at the border of Leytonstone, so this is like a synopsis, yeah? And after years of searching for a holy and transcendent truth, our protagonist, Dorothy, at long last encounters the Godhead and discovers a measure of her own personal enlightenment. She's spiritually reborn, and that search determines to return with her newfound knowledge and share it with some 7 of her compatriots. And so that's kind of the premise. She's just been enlightened, and she wants to go and share it to her friends, and you see what happens from there. Check that out. The website is up there, paulinachus.com, Incarnations. And if you can't find the links afterwards, you can send any messages to Grow or to And What London, etc. You can find out if you want to chase up any of this stuff. I'll show you a few more pictures from this project. It's a collaborative project with us two as the lead creative in the creative direction, Pauline on photography, although I did take these 2 pictures, although she did do the settings. Although I did do the styling, didn't I? I was like,
no styling.
I was like, take your clothes off. It's deep. It's symbolic. All right. So I'll take credit for that. Yeah, don't worry about that, gentlemen. Here's another one. So the kind of story, yeah, she goes into a cave and kind of gets lost. It's got a bit of Plato's allegory it plays with a little bit as well. And the cave kind of serves as the rabbit hole. And it just worked out real like nice synchronicity, because we were just happened, I'd already written the story, and then we were going through Cornwall and there were these caves everywhere, and it just, put it together like that. And here's a little bit of the poem that I wrote to go with it as well. The initial poem, just introductory poem. Join us on a journey through the fascinations, entertainments, and emanations of the human spirit in flux. You are in the cave, you're in the fire, you will find a way. And those are the main motifs: the cave, the fire, or the light, and you finding your way between those two things. Yeah, and basically the project involves 8 different incarnations, as we're calling them. And this kind of, I guess, these are different friends and acquaintances of Paulina. And we're kind of, they're basically function as characters which kind of teach, which she's teaching a lesson, but that might actually teach her something as well as she goes through the story. And they all have different versions of themselves. So it's kind of how Paulina imagined them. And that's how we incarnated them. So Rodney P, we have a photo shoot of him with prosthetics, facial prosthetics, painted silver to look like a machine with all these different technology bits on him. We have one of me as a shaman where I'm throwing octopus around and kind of divinating. We have Sun Sun B Girl as the Phoenix, another dude, Master Sabu, who's a physical trainer, as the monk. Julia Farrar is a makeup artist. She's playing Krishna. She's in the forest. There's kind of this blue thing, this blue goddess. Banksy, and he's the magician, obviously. We got Collider as the alchemist, you know, alchemy, DJ thing, I guess that's how Paulie saw it. And Paulie C playing Dorothy. So that's supposed to be the Incarnation Project. So I see me doing kind of that kind of stuff, combining these different disciplines, dramaturgy, they call it, like John Z. D kind of stuff, theatre stuff, and just I mean, staying open and whatever kind of different things that come along, trying to play with them and learn more, you know. And also it's nice to be in a theatre sometimes instead of out on these cold streets, you know. It's more comfortable, you know. It's nice to have a red curtain to jump from behind, you know. It's hard to get a curtain out on these streets, you know. But it's nice to have the balance as well. And hopefully, like, I'd like to develop a stage show and also kind of like a mini version that I can kind of perform on the street, and especially not necessarily on the regular busking, but when you go to busking festivals and stuff like the Edinburgh Fringe, you can really play with that idea a little more and be a little bit more elaborate with the kind of shows you put on, you know. Okay, so another question. They're asking me about the writing process. Definitely my main, like, usually I get hit by inspiration. So it's like I'll see something or hear someone say something, and then I'll just have to write it down. So I'm the type of guy who, like, you might be talking to me and you say something and I'll just grab my phone and start writing. I'm not being rude. It's just I have to write it down in that moment before I forget. And then I'll play with that and it'll pop up later on in my lyrics, or I might even just develop that with a beat in my head and then match it to a lyric later. I also write from, like, you know, if there's a beat that someone brings to me and they're like, I want a verse for that, I'll play the beat and just let it marinate, kind of freestyle to it, see what comes out that kind of way. I think freestyle is definitely, I mean, when you're writing, that's what you're doing, really, freestyling. You're just doing it without any pressure, without anyone on you, and you don't have to do the whole song in once. You freestyle a bit, and you put it all together, and that's a song, really. So that, yeah, that's definitely a process. But even stuff like one thing I'm playing with Andreas recently is to record the vocal as an a cappella and then to have him produce the beat around it. And I know that's not the way it's supposed to be done, as some people like to say, but for me it's like there's no way it's supposed to be done. There's just 1,000 different ways to do it, and every song is different. So it's just like experiment with different ways and see what's comfortable and what kind of works with you, you know. And you'll always, like I said, it's a game of balance, isn't it? You'll gain something and then you might lose something else, but it's like having that repertoire is what keeps it interesting, I guess. So yeah, that's kind of the writing process. And definitely the squeegee in the third eye helps. I can't tell that. Okay, am I a conscious rapper? Would you consider yourself a conscious rapper? I've been asked this before, and I'd say roughly 14 hours a day. Maybe 10 hours on the weekend, because I like to sleep in late. Yeah, conscious. What do I think about trap? Traps. I'm more on the biceps. Traps I tend to neglect, but I should definitely focus on them more often, wherever they are. Now I've got to talk about trap. What is it? They're trying to knock me back like they're trying to knock me back like a cold one. They say I lost my roots like a totem. Blah 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 blah. Instead, I'm stuck in the trap, stuck in the trap, and I can't get out. They said I'm stuck in the trap, stuck in the trap, and I can't. What do I think about trap music? It's cool, but it's oversaturated. I mean, there's too much of it. I just don't like it when people just copying the same stuff over and over again. You know, it's like the same thing like happened with G-Funk back in the day. You know, Chronic came through, blew up the whole thing, and it's like, yeah, Chronic is cool, G-Funk is cool, but it's not all that other stuff, because it's just like then you get, I don't know, it just becomes generic after a while. So I'm always interested in hearing something new. That's definitely like one of the people I rate right now a lot is Koji Radical, because it's a new sound that he's putting out there. Lil Sims is a good one we got over here as well. And like conceptual stuff I like as well. Stuff like Lupe and Fiasco. Okay. Any projects I'm working on now? Yeah, Incarnations is a big project. Also, I have a top secret project, so I can't tell you anything more about that, except rest in peace, MF Doom, GF Mood, Golden Face. We'll be bringing back the spirit. That's all I can say. Yeah, next releases, I don't know. I'm not sure. I've got a lot of stuff in the archives, a lot of stuff in the bank. Spaceman is ready. That's a tune we're banging out with Merc FM and Skunk Master General. Andreas put together the beat, and we put it together in the studio recently. So that's done. We're just deciding how to release it, basically. And if you want to follow me on my musical journey, if you want to follow me on the musical journey, you can find me on all good internet connections under AMP Medley, Absent Minded Poetics, and definitely find me through the And What LDN website. I've just been told to play the hit again because we got distracted from the hit. So after this trip to Cornwall, where we took all these pictures and everything, I was prepping, prepared that the ode to UK Principle during that time, and I also had this other tune which is called Little Black Boy, which I prepared and performed there as well. So I'll just play that for you, and I think that'll probably be my story so far. I don't want to bore people. We're an hour and a half in, so I guess you got a little taste of everything. I could talk for hours about the incarnation, about the busking stuff, and about music in general. And also it'd be cool to just debate the different points a little bit, but save that for some other time. So let me find out, where is it? What we got here? Because I really like talking about how different people see the art form, you know? Like, some people see it as therapy. Some people see it like a lot more like I'm getting a message out there, and different things there's different functions that this creative culture can kind of play in our lives, and the different things it does for us as people, connecting us together, and giving us some kind of catharsis. All right. So here's the hit. This one was definitely inspired by Mos Def. I'll give you a little intro to this one. Basically, I was watching I was at a Mos Def gig. Again, my third eye was well squeegeed, wide open. I was taking it in, hearing every single word. And he stopped halfway through the song. He just cut it, and then he was like, "Yo, I want to tell you about how I got into this game." And he says, like, you know, I was a kid just fucking around the school and have shit to do. I wasn't really into the rap thing, but or I wasn't really into the performance thing or whatever, so something. But basically, he was at school and there was a talent competition going on, and his teacher was like, "Yo, man, we need another head. We need to fill up these numbers here. You got something for us?" And he was like, "What? What do you mean? What do you want from me?" And he was like, all you got to do is go up there and, you know, say what you see, you know, talk to the people and say what you see." And it's like, I get to just say what I see. And he was like, "Okay, cool, sign me up. You'll sign me up." And then he ran into the next tune, and I just thought that was a cool idea. So I started trying to play with that and develop a tune out of it.
Ali Shuffle, yo.
Little black boy.
Yeah.
In development.
All right. Get into the next one. Spin it. Yeah. Madden Most Deaf. The ultramagnetic boogeyman. Yeah. Little black boy, you can say what you see. Swear on my life, I can rap to the beat. Little black boy, you can say what you see. I said, sign me up, yo, sign me up. Yeah, you are now rocking with the blessed. Come on now. Yeah. I said, bang with the boogie, so up jumps the boogie. That's the boogie and the boogie's the beat. Ha ha ha, rap to the boogie, so up jumps the boogie. That's the boogie and the boogie's the beat. Angry little black boy, you can say what you see. I can say what I see. I said, sign me up. This first one's for free. Truth be told, I send something. We all working for sweet crumbs and nothing. No judgment. Don't worry, you ain't the only one on the mill steadily running. This the one, this isn't the one. Are we having fun? What can I take? Drippy uppies to numb tongues. Sprinkled on my cornflakes, milk plus all day. I sit for breakfast, tabs and oranges. My state affected, studied the message. Shamanic lesson, all in your head, kid. Stand on one leg, rub my chest, tap my head, just jump up and down, have the emphasis spread it. I'm trying to get the madness out. I said, wanna get the madness out. That's what this rap's about, yo. I wanna bring the madness out. Yeah. This rap master feels got mad mass appeal. $1 million tuned, inspiring thrills. 1 million more tuned, then you rising still. Like I can't get enough till my eyes are filled with 1 million motherfuckers spitting fire for real. Kicking my bars back, told the line for real. But I know this ain't really something I should feel. Overcast, but a big eye in the sky that's hill. Can't get enough love, so my eyes will fill with enough gathered tears to make horizons kill. And enough gathered heads to make a mind kneel. Scrap that, retract that, feeling higher still. Fill horizons with fireflies that trap light like irises. Fuck that, chop, change, rearrange that shit. Fill horizons with eyes that light fires like cipher spit. Sunlight flows gold through rhyming still. The silver tongue, golden one, and my mind is ill. Sunshine so bright, a blinding feel. My diamond still. I cut out my ego, but it's rising still. I'm trying to get the magic out. Shit, let me get this magic out. That's what this rap's about, yo. I wanna get the magic out. All helps bring the magic out. Patty cake, bakers, man. Bake me a cake as fast as you can. Pat it and prick it and mark it MC. When you a big boy, what will you be? Old school is a nursery rhyme. Get it, motherfuckers? Yeah. Little black boy, you can say what you see. Be who you are, cause you are when you speak. Live for the game, rhyme for these streets. Little black boy, you can say what you see. Rap with the soul becomes spirit. Sing with the spirit becomes soul. Yeah, I can say what I see. Yeah, said sign me up, yo, sign me up. simmer. Bars upon bars, the bar of the week. Behooving these fools who can't face defeat. Little black boy ain't little boy peep. My mic sound nice, this life sound sweet. Not to the rhythm, you catching the scheme. Rhyming about times and places I've been. My beady eyes find rhymes for fiends. Be what I am, see what I sin. Signing the rhymes, these good raps forbidden. Signing the times, so food stamps the criminals. Signing the lines are mine for these simpletons. Signs in the rhymes, don't take shit too literal. Little black boy, you can say what you see. Swear on your life, crush your heart to the beat. Well, I've had my name till I wax poetry. Little black boy, you can say what you see. Little black boy, I can say what I see. Swear on my life, I'll rap to these beats. Name on the line, truly yours, blessed be. The absent-minded poetic medley. Yeah.
Alright. That's enough for that. That's the hit. Well, not yet. We prophesize that's going to be hit.
I think, I mean, what a track to end on almost, you know, like that's what you said about hip hop before, about you know, in that track, you're going from grindcore to Fender Rhodes breakdowns, soulful stuff, you know, lyrically, that's hard. It's brilliant. And that's pretty much, you know, you summed it up in that track. Amazing. You know, what a great one. Yeah,
I appreciate it, man.
It's been a pleasure. I mean, have you got any more things you want to share with us, or are we gonna kind of wind it up now?
Yeah, I think that's basically it. I could maybe play the music video from Mosaics as like an outro, and then call it a day on that.
Yeah, but I'd like we could do that. That'd be great. I'd like to say something first, you know, like basically, AMP Medley, you've taken us on a journey from a teenage gangster rapper to somebody who's conscious for 14 hours of the day, which is no mean feat in these times. You know, it's more than I can achieve a lot of the time. But actually, you know, you've gone from, you know, your voyage basically from that to what you just produced there, and the fact that you're doing like community work as well and working with all these multilingual kind of platforms, exploring hip hop, because to me, like, I'm not an aficionado of hip hop, but I know it's about exploration, and you're out there doing that. I just want to say a massive thank you for giving us this talk, taking us on the journey with you. And if you want to play us out, that'd be fantastic. You've been watching Grow at Home with AMP Medley. Fantastic.
Big up, Scott. And I want to say thank you for having me, you know, and thank you also for supporting us and What London through Grow and everything. It's been wicked. Yeah. Big up David, big up Pete.
Thank you. Last
tune I'll play with all is just from the Mosaics album. It's the one music video we put together, me and Satoshi. This tune's called Reflections, and it was the lead single from that album. It's the first tune me and Satoshi put together. And people are asking about new tunes coming out. Me and Satoshi might have a little EP, a little something coming out soon. So keep your eyes open for that. In the meantime, enjoy this. Feast your eyes and your ears. I've been AMP Medley. Much love. Thanks for having me. Take care. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Stay good. You know, come together. Don't fight. Increase the peace. All right. Blessings, peeps.
Time to get 420 on, you know what I'm saying?
Yellow pages make pure poetry. Take next week some tracks. The stories back. Make hotels sound like they brand new. Read the phrase book, see them all words stand true. It's not what you say, but how you do. So how'd you do? Said how'd you do? Yo, how will I could paint a perfect picture of my inner junkie fiending. Said fuck the framework, I'm trying to gain work. The pain in my paint does the bleeding. Meaning there's no hanging these cracks in my ceiling. I'll sing a soothing song, might help with the healing, or a lullaby spun into the evening, creating cult classics. No 45 streaming. You call that shit madness? I'm one for the dreaming. I hope it's appealing. Come catch a feeling. No shots that I'm peeling, cause I couldn't tell a fake from a real one. No shit, more concerned with replicating real feelings. Poker face, cause we seeing the rise of these dirty dealings. Call a bluff or two at least once an evening. Cannot fail, know the tales, it's myself I'm defeating. So I'm stealing away. Do you feel lucky? Let my soul vive and create mischief today. Do you feel lucky? Breaking the track on repeat or replay. Do you feel lucky? Mirrors replaced in an opposite way. Do you feel lucky? Infinity in the frame. Do you feel lucky today? Stealing away. Do you feel lucky? Let my soul vive and create mischief today. Do you feel lucky? Breaking the track on repeat or replay. Do you feel lucky? Mirrors replaced in an opposite way. Do you feel lucky? Infinity in the frame. Do you feel lucky today? Do you, huh? Make the phone book sound like music. Read the yellow pages and make pure poetry. Take last week's or rise, read the stories back. Make old tales sound like they brand new. Read the phrase book and see them old words stand true. It's not what you say, but how you do. So how'd you do? Said how'd you do? Yeah, how'd you do? I could make the phone book sound like music. Read the yellow pages and make pure poetry. Take last week's or rise, read the stories back. Make old tales sound like they brand new. Read the phrase book and see them old words stand true. It's not what you say, but how'd you do? Said how'd you do? Yo, how'd you do? So how'd you do? Yo, how'd you do?
420 forever.